The black boy ran to the mafia boss shouting, "They're attacking my mother!" What the boss did next. Caleb sprinted down the cracked sidewalk, his breath cutting in and out as if the air itself was running away from him. Cars rushed past without slowing, and people stepped aside when they saw the panic on his face. His small hands trembled, scraped and bruised from falling more than once, but he kept pushing forward because every second mattered. The Shadow Serpents were inside his home, and his mother was not safe. He turned a corner too fast and collided with a wall of black suits. Dante Moretti's men reached for their weapons on instinct, but Caleb's cry cut through the street like shattered glass. "They're hitting my mother!" He screamed, his voice cracking as he grabbed Dante's coat with both hands. Silence tightened around them. Dante's men exchanged glances, unsure whether this was a trap or a desperate plea. Caleb's wide eyes made the truth impossible to ignore. His arms shook violently, and fresh bruises wrapped around his wrists like fingerprints that never should have been there. Dante lowered himself to Caleb's height, studying the boy's trembling face. Something in those frightened eyes dragged him backward in time, back to the nights when he was the child begging an adult to listen. The memory hardened his jaw. This was not random. This was not a mistake. The Shadow Serpents had crossed a line they could not return from. Before the story continues, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you never miss these powerful stories. Monica Hayes had built her little laundry shop with nothing but second-hand machines, long nights, and a faith that life would eventually reward honest work. The neon sign flickered every morning when she unlocked the door, but the warmth inside came from her determination, not electricity. She folded clothes with a calm patience that her neighbors admired, yet everyone in the district knew that calm never lasted long in an area ruled by the Shadow Serpents. Caleb understood more than any child should. He woke early to sweep the floors before school, humming quietly so his mother would think he was happy. He counted coins in a jar labeled rent, pretending it was a game. He carried laundry baskets that were too heavy for him but insisted he could manage. Living in poverty had carved responsibility into him too early, but he never complained. His mother's tired smile was the only reward he wanted. Ryder Cole had other plans for people like Monica. The Shadow Serpents swaggered through the neighborhood, knocking on shop doors with the confidence of men who believed the city belonged to them. They demanded weekly peace fees, money meant to keep businesses safe from harm. Everyone knew the truth. The only danger came from refusing to pay. When they stepped into Monica's shop for the first time, she looked them in the eye. Ryder sauntered across the room, smirking at the neatly stacked folded clothes, running a finger across a shirt and dropping it to the floor. "You run a clean place," he said. "Let's see if you can keep it that way." Monica did not flinch. "I am not paying you anything. This shop is my son's future. I will not hand it to criminals." Ryder's grin thinned. His pride was injured, and men like him never allowed wounds to show. They covered them with violence. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Then I will make an example. People need reminders of who controls these streets." The threat hung in the air long after the gang left. Monica tried to stay steady, but Detective Harper Lane saw the fear behind her sister's brave front. Harper begged her to be cautious, but her hands were tied by officers loyal to corrupt figures inside the department. Every time Harper filed a report, it went missing. Every complaint from local families disappeared before morning. Ryder returned a week later with Tara Briggs and Luis Vega at his side. Their presence was heavier this time, their smirks sharper. They knocked over baskets, ripped clothing, and shoved Monica when she tried to stop them. Caleb stood frozen behind a washing machine, unable to breathe as he watched Tara smash the tip jar and Luis kick the folding table until it splintered. Ryder planted his boot on a pile of clean clothes. "I warned you." The final escalation came without warning. The Shadow Serpents stormed in before sunrise when Monica was alone. They tore apart the machines she had spent years saving for. They shattered windows, overturned shelves, and sent shockwaves through the quiet street. Monica fought back until Ryder struck her across the face, sending her crashing to the floor. He leaned over her, whispering the chilling promise he had kept waiting. "No one refuses me twice." Caleb, arriving early to surprise his mother with breakfast, saw Ryder's foot raised above her. For 1 second, the world stood still. Then everything inside him broke. He ran not toward the police station where he knew help would fail, but anywhere a grown-up might finally listen. His legs carried him without direction, powered only by terror. He cut through alleys and crossed busy roads, ignoring honking cars and shouting pedestrians. He kept whispering the same words under his breath like a prayer. Someone has to help Mom. Someone has to help Mom. That frantic path, twisted by fear and desperation, led him straight into the path of Dante Moretti, the one man powerful enough to stop the Shadow Serpents, and the last man Caleb ever expected to beg. Caleb clung to Dante's coat as if it were the last solid thing in a world falling apart. His breath shook with every word he forced out. "Please, you have to save my mother. They are hurting her." I did not know where else to go. His voice cracked and his knees almost buckled. He expected anger or rejection or cold silence. Men like Dante did not owe anyone kindness. But he hoped with the tiny piece of strength he had left that someone would finally listen. Dante kept his eyes steady on the boy. There was no lie in Caleb's face, no trick hiding behind those tears. What he saw instead was something painful and familiar. It was the same fear he once carried as a child running through streets that never protected him. He saw the same helplessness he used to hide behind angry words. It hit him harder than he expected, cutting through all the walls he had spent years building. Dante stood slowly, placing a firm hand on Caleb's shoulder. "Show me," he said, his voice low but certain. "Take me to your mother." His men exchanged uneasy looks. Dante rarely stepped into neighborhood disputes. He had rules, and those rules kept the peace. But the moment he turned toward the street, they followed without question. Caleb ran ahead, glancing back repeatedly to make sure Dante was still behind him. Each time he saw Dante's long strides closing the distance, his panic eased just enough to keep him moving. The closer they got to the laundromat, the heavier the air became. Shattered glass covered the sidewalk, glinting in the harsh morning light. A crowd hovered nearby, whispering nervously. They stepped back when Dante approached, clearing a path without a single word. His reputation walked ahead of him. Caleb pushed through the doorway first. The sight inside nearly stole the breath from his lungs. Machines were torn open, clothes scattered like broken memories. The smell of cleaning detergent mixed with dust and fear. In the middle of the wreckage, Monica lay on the floor, trying to push herself upright despite the pain twisting through her body. Caleb dropped to his knees beside her. "Mom, I am here," he whispered, touching her cheek with shaking fingers. Monica tried to smile, but it faltered. When she looked up and saw Dante's imposing figure standing in the doorway, confusion flickered across her face. She did not know who he was, but she could sense the tension in the room shift as he stepped closer. Dante crouched down and lifted Monica with a gentleness that surprised even his own men. He handled her as if she were something precious that had been carelessly thrown aside. He glanced at the handprint bruises on her skin, the cuts along her arm, the fear behind her eyes. Something inside him hardened. He looked at Caleb, who watched with a mix of fear and hope. "No one lays a hand on your mother again," Dante said quietly. But there was steel in his tone, steel sharpened by memories, choices, and a past he rarely spoke of. The promise was not made lightly. It was not something he could break. With those words, everything changed. He was no longer a distant figure avoiding neighborhood trouble. He was stepping into a fight he had no obligation to join, a fight that would pull him into the shadows he thought he left behind. Caleb clung to the sentence like a lifeline. Monica closed her eyes, relief washing over her tired body. And Dante stood up with a new purpose, one that would draw a line the Shadow Serpents would regret ever crossing. From this moment on, the conflict was no longer one-sided. Dante Moretti had entered the war. Ryder Cole was furious. When he heard that Dante Moretti had stepped in, carried Monica Hayes out of the burning laundry, and publicly protected her, Ryder felt something he had not felt in a long time: fear. He tried to hide it behind anger, but everyone in the Shadow Serpents could see his hands shaking when he spoke. Dante Moretti was not a man you crossed? Not if you wanted to live long. But Ryder's ego would not let him stay silent. He had spent years building an image loud, reckless, untouchable. If he backed down now, the whole neighborhood would call him weak. And weak men did not survive long in the world he lived in. Tara Briggs noticed Ryder's panic even before he did. She leaned against the graffiti-covered wall of their hideout and said, "If you let Dante walk over you like this, no one will respect you again." Luis Vega added, "Everyone already knows Monica Hayes stood up to us. Now her kid ran to Dante? People will start thinking they can fight back. You need to respond." Ryder swallowed hard. Their words hit him exactly where it hurt, his pride. His voice cracked with frustration. "Fine, we will show them what happens when someone disrespects the Serpents." That night, the gang stormed through the neighborhood like a storm that did not care what was destroyed in its path. They kicked over market stalls, smashed windows, and scared families who only wanted to sleep in peace. But this time, they filmed everything. They wanted the videos to go viral, not understanding that the same recordings, meant to intimidate people, would become their downfall. Tara held up her phone, laughing as she recorded Luis spray-painting threats on Monica's destroyed laundry shop. Luis shouted into the camera, "This is what happens when you call for help. This is just the beginning." The video spread online within minutes, but instead of fear, they attracted criticism, people mocking Ryder for attacking a single mother and her child. Some even tagged law enforcement accounts, demanding action. Ryder had made his biggest mistake yet. Meanwhile, Dante Moretti sat in a dimly lit back room with two of his most trusted men. Caleb Hayes sat beside him, watching silently, his small hands clenched into fists. Dante rewound one of the videos, scanning it carefully. "Look at the corner," he said softly. "That sticker, that is from their bike garage. They just exposed their location." Caleb leaned forward. "So you can stop them now?" Dante looked at him with a steady, reassuring gaze. "Yes, it is only a matter of time." Caleb exhaled shakily. He was still scared, but Dante's presence made him feel stronger than he had ever felt before. Across the city, Detective Harper Lane stared at her computer screen. She had seen the same videos. Her jaw tightened as she recognized Ryder, Tara, Lisa, faces she had been trying to bring down for years. But her station was corrupted. Her captain was bought. Her hands were tied. Yet she refused to sit still. Using an anonymous account, Harper sent Dante a message containing timestamps, old case notes, and digital trails the Shadow Serpents never knew existed. No signature, no name, just evidence. Dante read the files silently. He knew exactly who had sent them, but he did not expose her. He simply nodded and said, "Tell Caleb his aunt is helping us." For the first time since the attack, Caleb smiled. Ryder begins to lose control. While Dante gathered evidence and OIs, Ryder Cole was falling apart. The gang started questioning his decisions. The community stopped obeying him. Even Tara and Luis whispered about how Dante's silent presence scared them more than any police raid ever had. Ryder paced back and forth, sweating. "Why is no one listening anymore?" he yelled. Tara answered sharply, "Because you have lost control? Dante is protecting Monica, the kid respects him, and the neighborhood sees you as a clown recording your own crimes." The words hit Ryder like a punch. For the first time in years, he felt powerless. And nothing terrified him more, because powerless men do dangerous things. And Ryder Cole was about to make a choice that would push the war to a whole new level. By morning, the Shadow Serpents had lost control of their own story. The same violent videos Tara and Luis proudly uploaded the night before were now spreading across social media faster than Ryder Cole could even react. What they meant to use as a threat had turned into pure evidence, proof of their cruelty, arrogance, and fear tactics. A local teenager reposted one clip with the caption, "These cowards are terrorizing single mothers. Someone needs to stop them." Within hours, hundreds shared it. By noon, thousands. Influencers jumped in next, people with huge followings who refused to stay silent. Community activists stitched the videos, pointing out every crime, every broken window, Every threat painted on Monica Hayes' destroyed laundry shop. Then came the outrage. A simple hashtag started by a local school teacher began trending worldwide. It called for justice, safety, and accountability. Comment after comment poured in. Protect Monica Hayes. Shut down the Serpents. Why has no one arrested them yet? Journalists picked it up. News outlets replayed the videos on live broadcasts. Reporters stood in front of the ruined laundry shop calling for immediate action. Pressure fell like a hammer on the authorities. And finally, the hammer cracked the silence. Harper Lane takes her chance. Detective Harper Lane watched the news reports from her desk. She felt something she had not felt in years while working inside a corrupted police system. Power. Public pressure forced her station to act. Their captain could not ignore the world watching. Harper pushed every file she had, demanded warrants, and showed undeniable evidence that the Serpents were behind the attacks. Her superiors tried to stall, but the news cameras outside the building changed everything. They had no choice. Within hours, Harper was granted exactly what she had been fighting for: full search and arrest warrants for Ryder, Tara, Luis, and every known Serpent member. It was time. Dante's final move. At the same time, Dante Moretti sat with a map of the neighborhood spread across the table. He marked every hideout, stash house, and escape route the gang used. Caleb sat beside him, watching as Dante connected every location with calm precision. "This is everything?" Harper asked when she arrived quietly at the back entrance. Dante nodded. "Their financial accounts, their weapon suppliers, their safe houses?" "Ryder Cole is finished." Harper allowed herself a small smile. "Then let us bury the Serpents for good." The raid that ended in Empire. The police moved in just after sunset. Dozens of officers stormed the Shadow Serpents headquarters, no hesitation, no delay. Doors were kicked open, shouting filled the air, and gang members scrambled like rats caught in a flood. Tara was dragged out first, screaming that they had no proof. Luis tried to run but tripped over his own feet and fell face-first into the pavement. Members who once acted fearless were now crying, begging, denying. And Ryder Cole, the man who once ruled the neighborhood, was pulled out last. He fought, cursed, kicked, but it was over. His gang was shattered, his power gone, his reputation turned into a joke across the entire internet. As officers shoved him toward the police van, he saw Dante Moretti standing across the street, calm, silent, steady, a man who never had to raise his voice to win. Ryder's face twisted with rage. He thrashed against the officers and screamed, "Dante! This is not over. Do you hear me? This is not over." But his voice meant nothing now. His empire had collapsed. His name was ruined. The Shadow Serpents were finished, and the whole world had watched them fall. Monica Hayes slowly lifted her head from the hospital bed. Her arms wrapped lightly around Caleb. The bruises and cuts had faded, but the fear still lingered in her eyes. Caleb, holding her hand tightly, whispered reassuringly, "Mom, it is over. You are safe now." For the first time in weeks, Monica felt a spark of hope return. Outside the room, Dante Moretti stood quietly, letting them share the moment without interruption. His presence alone had become a shield, a silent promise that no harm would come their way again. Monica had seen danger before, but the calm strength of Dante gave her a courage she had long forgotten. Detective Harper Lane observed from a distance, her badge tucked under her jacket. Years of working in a flawed system had left her cynical, but seeing Ryder Cole and his gang behind bars, knowing that justice had finally been done, she felt a rare relief. The world was not perfect, but today the law had met those who believed themselves above it. The neighborhood slowly came alive again. Shopkeepers painted over broken windows. Children returned to the streets, laughter replacing the echoes of fear. People spoke in hushed tones of what had happened, but also of what they had gained, a sense of safety and solidarity. Monica's small laundry shop, once destroyed, became a symbol of resilience. Neighbors volunteered to help, bringing paint, shelves, and smiles. Caleb's eyes sparkled when Dante walked into the new shop, carrying a bundle of supplies. The boy ran to him, hugging him tightly. You are my family now, he said simply. Dante knelt, ruffling Caleb's hair. And you are mine. I will always protect you both. In that moment, the trauma of the past weeks began to fade. A new family bond had formed, one built not only on protection, but also on love and trust. Monica, standing beside Dante and Caleb, allowed herself to feel something she had not allowed in years: relief, gratitude, and even joy. Dante offered to fund the restoration of her shop fully, not as charity, but as an investment in the neighborhood's strength. With his help, she expanded the space, added new machines, and even hired other single mothers, giving them jobs and hope. As the days passed, Caleb's confidence grew. He spoke openly at school about courage and community, often sharing the story of how a mafia boss had helped save his mother. He learned that strength was not measured by fists or fear, but by love, loyalty, and standing up for those who could not stand for themselves. Monica watched her son flourish, her gratitude toward Dante deepening. They had lost so much, but the ordeal had also given them a new beginning. The bond between mother, son, and protector became the foundation of a small, yet resilient, family. Harper Lane continued her work, knowing that even in a corrupt system, there were ways to bring real change when people dared to act. The Shadow Serpents had been dismantled. Ryder Cole, Briggs, and Luis Vega faced years behind bars. Social media continued to expose their arrogance, but more importantly, it reminded the neighborhood that justice could arrive, sometimes in unexpected forms. Monica placed a hand on Caleb's shoulder, smiling at Dante. "Thank you for believing in us," she said softly. Dante nodded, eyes steady but warm. "No one will ever harm you again. Not here, not anywhere." Caleb grinned. "We have our own family now." Monica squeezed his hand, feeling the weight of the past lift. Together, they faced a future filled with safety, hope, and love, a life rebuilt stronger than before. Before the camera fades out, the voice encourages. If you were inspired by Caleb and Monica's story, hit the like button and subscribe for more tales of courage, justice, and hope. Every share helps keep these stories alive. 6 months later, the streets that once echoed with fear were alive with laughter and life. Children played freely, shopkeepers smiled as customers returned, and the neighborhood no longer whispered about the Shadow Serpents. Monica Hayes' new laundry shop stood proudly on the corner, its windows gleaming in the morning sun. Caleb moved between folding clothes and serving neighbors, his small hands busy, but his smile wide and carefree. Dante Moretti arrived one afternoon, carrying a small bag of supplies and a quiet smile. Caleb ran to him immediately, hugging him tightly. Dante ruffled the boy's hair and lifted him up. "You are doing well, kid," he said warmly. Monica watched from behind the counter, her eyes soft with gratitude. Dante had become more than a protector. He was family. The bond they shared was unspoken yet unbreakable, built on trust, courage, and care. Ryder Cole remained behind bars, serving a long sentence for his crimes, while Briggs and Luis Vega faced their own consequences. The gang they had led, the Shadow Serpents, had dissolved completely. The digital trail they had left behind continued to educate the public, reminding everyone how arrogance and violence could destroy a life when exposed. One quiet evening, Caleb sat at a small table in the laundry, drawing a picture. His crayons danced across the page, capturing 3 figures standing together, a mother, her son, and a man who had become their family. The image was simple but powerful, a symbol of the life they had rebuilt from chaos. Monica leaned over, brushing a strand of hair from Caleb's forehead. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "Just like us." Dante glanced at the drawing, his eyes softening. "I will keep this forever," he said. "It will remind me why protecting you both was worth everything." The warmth of the moment filled the room, a quiet celebration of survival, courage, and love. As the sun set over the neighborhood, painting the streets gold, the Hayes family looked forward to a future free from fear. Their home, their shop, and their hearts had all been rebuilt. Through hardship, violence, and danger, they had discovered something stronger: loyalty, trust, and the enduring power of love. A gentle reminder concluded the story. If you felt inspired by Monica, Caleb and Dante. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories where courage and family triumph over darkness.